Hey everybody, we're back with another Christmas spoiler review. And today I'll be covering a movie I haven't seen in a long while, Rise of the Guardians, uh, starring Chris Pine as Jack Frost, Jude Law as the Boogeyman, Alec Baldwin as Santa Claus, Hugh Jackman as the Easter Bunny, or E. Esther Bunnyman, uh, Elsa Fisher as Toothiana, or Tooth Fairy. Uh, we also have characters like the Sandman, but he's a silent kind of character, so there's no voice actor for that. Excuse me. And the movie uh, begins with narration by Jack Frost, who some people comment how, like, even back then, because this movie came out mid 2000s, yeah, 2012, and Chris Pine should have been like in his mid 30s at the time, because he's like in the early 40s right now, shouldn't he? Uh, yeah, he's 42 now. So yeah, it's like he was 32 at the time when he's did a voice. So he was it was like it's been comments about like, wow, it's like could have cast somebody uh uh younger for somebody like Jack Frost, who's clearly a kid in a perpetual state of a teenager. Excuse me. Um, so the movie begins with him narrating how like he's pretty much have amnesia. He doesn't know his life before he was just Jack Frost. He woke up in a lake staring at the moon, this big Bruce Almighty type of moon, which has been dubbed the Man in the Moon, pretty much based off of superstitions about seeing a face in the moon. And this mystical moon had chosen him for, because he said himself, like the only thing that because the moon doesn't actually talk, but they hear certain words from the moon, these guardians, that, oh, the only thing this moon tells me is that my name is Jack Frost now. And that's the last time I heard anything from him. Because he goes into this village, tries to interact with people. They don't see him. They pass right through him. He is essentially a ghost. And he has this staff that allows him to freeze stuff on contact, but he also can fly by being carried through the wind. So, fast forward 300 years of him just, causing mischief with his frost antics and pretty much being the harbinger of winter. And he's just having fun, playing around with children, getting them to in the snow fights and just enjoying their snow days. But uh, Santa Claus gets this eerie feeling about, or not feeling, but he gets this kind of like a ominous shadow whooping around this globe that each Guardian member, even like the Boogeyman, who's not like a Guardian, but he has his own globe where he can where they can monitor children around the world. And his is more like a broken sort of kind of globe, because it's like you got like a cave like kind of a shadowy lair, which is kind of perfect for somebody like the Boogeyman to roam in. Santa decides to call all the Guardians. And it's pretty much like Guardians of the Galaxy, but for holiday icons. Well, the Sandman is not a Sandman and Tooth Fairy are not holiday icons, but they made a reference to St. Patrick's Day, and it's like, yeah, why isn't like the icon of St. Patrick's Day among the Guardians? That's kind of weird. Uh, so Santa Claus calls in Easter Bunny, Sandman, Tooth Fairy together because the Man in the Moon is choosing the next Guardian, and the Man in the Moon chooses Jack Frost, which the Easter Bunny is totally against because he has like a grievance with Jack Frost for years ago causing a frost around his holiday when it's supposed to be in springtime. And they and Santa Claus in this, there's been many interpretations depending on the civilization, how they view Santa Claus. Here, he's like a Russian oligarch type of dude. Like super thick Russian accent. He got like Yetis working for him, and instead of elves, it looks like he has gnomes instead. And they do a pretty good job with like bringing in certain information, because they obviously, the director of this, Peter Ramsey, who's he's done like Monsters vs. Aliens, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is co-director of We the People. He's gonna be working on like the Ahsoka series soon. So yeah, he has some stuff underneath his belt. He's second unit director for Higher Learning, Poetic Justice, Tank Girl, Godzilla, 1998. So yeah. But he was best known for Rise of the Guardians and Spider-Verse, which not too shabby. Rise of the Guardians did very well at the box office, so just like with Spider-Verse, you can tell that he did his darnest research, because they have the Easter, they call him Easter Bunny, but he gives his full name as E. Esther Bunnyman. If you look up the Easter Bunny lore, the Easter Bunny actually has a full name as E. Esther Bunnyman. And the depiction of the Sandman, as like, he's like golden sand, and they looked up, and it's like, because the European folklore, a lot of these are like European folklore stuff or Norse things, for the most part. And according to the European folklore about the Sandman, he puts people to sleep and encourages and inspires beautiful dreams by sparkling magical stand in their eyes. And that is highly, illustrated in the film, as, when children are dreaming, you can see their dreams formulate above their heads in the sand, and it's like pure, sparkling, and it's like just filled with like beauty. And you got the Tooth Fairy, who has like a lair that's kind of reminiscent to like very Hinduism type of layout, which there is like some emphasis on the Tooth Fairy's like origin story in not only in Middle Ages in Northern Europe, but there's some form. I can get this right here. Just Middle Eastern countries as well. They even have like call back to, or at least like no pun intended, an Easter egg, where you see these little European mice helping out with collecting uh, teeth for the Tooth Fairy, and then the European division, as she calls it, and of course places like France, Belgium, the lore of the Tooth Fairy has like mice helping out with collecting children's teeth. So yeah, I mean like things like that. They done some pretty darn good uh, 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 research and making things like this. I want to say make sense, but like if you are curious about each of these holiday figures, you'll find certain things that they implemented in the movie that's like especially if you're like a history buff or whatever like that, you get a kick out of like, oh wow, you get wild. Um, so uh, everybody's excited to see like Jack being part of the Guardians, except Easter Bunny. Like I said before, he had a grudge. Uh, but Jack doesn't want to be a Guardian. He just thinks it's like all rules, regulations, and he just wants to just like do his own thing. Uh, but then Santa explains they called all of them here because Pitch Black, aka the Boogeyman, has come back. Even though they haven't seen him since like the Dark Ages, because I guess around that time that's when all these icons really start to, because you see like from the dialogue from Boogeyman why he came back, because he's assembling power essentially, because he was forgotten because he was thriving during the Dark Ages and prior to that. But when these Guardians start to show up bringing hope and love and happiness and joy, all this other stuff, then Boogeyman is starting to fade further away, because there's less reason to be afraid of the Boogeyman when they have people like Santa Claus and Tooth Fairy and like the Easter Bunny. They bring joy. So he decides to start kidnapping, destroying things of them that children would be expecting, and without those things, children would cease to believe. And just like in like a certain pop culture like films like Thor Love and Thunder with like deities, they're thriving off certain gods or deities or demigods, what have you, thrive off of the belief of the people. That gives them their power. Without that, they're weak to the point where they cease to exist. I say, and it kind of rings true, because without something like Marvel Comics, thanks to Stan Lee, it keeps like the Norse mythology thriving after so many years, where it could have easily just died off with most other ancillary type of pantheon figures. That's why I always want to like push for it with like African religion pantheons, to bring that back to life, because like there was a thing before Christianity was pushed on the African American culture. It was pushed on to a lot of other cultures as well, but Hindu, Chinese, Japanese, they still know what their religious pantheon still is. But I'm going off on a tangent. But so yeah, they thrive off of the belief that gives them that power. So the Boogeyman starts kidnapping all but one of the Tooth Fairy's fairies. So there's nobody to go and collect the teeth. So they decide to gather together and like, okay, we'll just collect the teeth and put the money under the pillows ourselves. And I like this because Tooth Fairy is like, how can we do all this? It's like, what are my fairies? And and Santa points out, like, who do you think you're talking to? Because each one of these Guardians members are in their own way. You think it's just Santa? No, each one of these deities uh, or these supernatural entities have been known to travel all around the world in just rapid succession in different ways. Whether like in Santa using these like globes to throw and explode into a portal so you can explain how he can get into all over the world in one night because he got portal technology. The Easter Bunny, make magical holes to get through. He's really fast too, anyway. But you make these magical holes so he can get to certain spots, so he can hide his eggs and everything like that, so very quickly and easily all over the world. The Tooth Fairy has all of her fairies and the mice in the European division go all around the world to collect teeth so easily. Jack Frost, traveling on the wind, he can be in places, depending on what spots need to be like cold in certain areas of the world, he can get there pretty fast as well. Each one is uniquely qualified to go around the world to help the Tooth Fairy collect these teeth very fast. And I thought that was very cool. That was like a very cool thing that because you always think about Santa Claus being able to travel around the world in one night, but these other characters do the exact same thing, but just in different ways. Like Sandman just spreads his sand across areas where people are asleep. I think he probably does so more than, I think he travels around the world even quicker than even Santa Claus because people go to sleep. Not even just at nighttime, people just tend to fall asleep and he's there to sprinkle sand in their eyes. He is probably the most constant of the Guardians. He's always probably working. While Santa probably has like just a few months to work on, again, Christmas together and going out for the night. And the Easter Bunny has like the one day to do the paint, like probably had like the week or whatever to paint all the eggs and get them out to the world for Easter. They work probably less than Tooth Fairy, Tooth Fairy and Sandman because people are constantly losing their teeth, baby teeth, and people are constantly going to sleep. So I thought it was really, really, really cool. But when they was approaching, they making a contest out of it, which is kind of fun to help speed things along. And they go to this house of this kid that Jack was playing the whole snow day with earlier in the film, and they inadvertently wake the kid up, and he's just like astounded. It's like, oh my god, Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, you're a real Tooth Fairy. And of course he can't see Jack because, and it's funny, this is a modern day, and it's like, how do you not believe in Jack Frost? Yeah, sure, he may not be as important as the other figures, but you have heard of him because there's songs about this guy. There's like storybooks about this guy. So it's like, I find it like unfathomable to have like no belief in Jack Frost as a character. But then, the kid's Greyhound wakes up and starts chasing Bunnyman around because Greyhounds attack rabbits. And Sandman tries to put like the dog and the kid to sleep, and he ends up knocking everybody out except Jack Frost. And then Boogeyman shows up, and of course they didn't have time to wake the others up, so those two go by themselves. Jack managed to fend him off because of his magic staff, Uh, but in the ensuing fight, Boogeyman absorbs and seemingly kills Sandman, and so they go back to the Easter Bunny's hideout because Easter is coming along, and we gotta make sure at least they keep because his strength up by because he's the most the physically apt one among the group. So uh, the boy's little sister took one of the uh, teleportation globes from Santa and goes to the Easter Bunny's lair because he just thought of it, and it takes her to the spot. And so they and there's a funny little moment where the Tooth Fairy is like, "Oh, I bet she loves fairies," and she's trying to like appease to the kids because these people, unlike Jack, these people really had time to actually spend time with children because they too busy, like, because usually they're asleep or doing other activities. They don't have time to actually sit with any of them, so they don't have any social skills when it comes to children. So as Jack ended up teaching them how to like deal with kids by just meeting them on their level and having fun with them. And as the whole course of the film, because Jack is working with them, because since he used to be somebody before he was a guardian, the Tooth Fairy explains to him that she even collected his teeth at one point, and these teeth holds the memories of uh, the a person they collected from. And of course, since Boogeyman stole all the teeth and the Tooth Fairies, so he's tagging along just to make sure he gets his set of teeth so he can finally figure out who he was before because he doesn't remember. Uh, so, uh, uh, he ends up going to what happened next? Uh, the boy's name is Jamie. His little sister Sophie. Uh, when like he was taking Sophie home because they couldn't keep the kid here for long, otherwise there'll be a panic. And on his way back with the baby Tooth Fairy in tow with him, because the Tooth Fairies are like having a very huge lady boner for Jack Frost, and even though he's perpetually like a teenager, who knows he was even 18 at this point, but I guess it doesn't matter because he's over 300 years old, so he's 318, I guess, would be the case. Because he probably was like somewhere between 16 and 18 when, because you find out from the teeth later that Pitch hands him to trying to get Jack on his side because Jack not biting, no pun intended. He finds out that he was a human boy. He had like a family, he had like a little sister, and then he saved his sister from drowning in the from the falling in the thin ice and drowning. But in the process, he ends up drowning, and he ends up dying, and then being awakened and risen as a supernatural entity by the Man in the Moon and dubbed Jack Frost with a particular purpose. But he doesn't know that purpose because earlier in the film, Santa Claus explains that each one of the Guardians have a specific purpose that were made by the Man in the Moon to bring out to the world. His, in particular, is wonder. He brings wonder to the world. That's why he build all these toys and everything like that and bring it around the world for children. I kind of wish they kind of explain what each of the other Guardians bring to the table, because you can just easily speculate, I guess. I guess you can say Sandman brings dreams to the world. But you later find out after uh, this uh, realization, Jack finds out that no, it wasn't right away. It was when he came back after, the boogeyman destroyed all the eggs, so the children doesn't have any eggs to find for Easter, so they stop believing in the Easter bunny, and his powers get so diminished he turns into a baby bunny. And next is like Santa Claus, after he kind of the boogeyman kind of wrecks his like workshop, so he's like getting depowered little by little to the point he's using one of his swords as like a cane. So he comes back and realizing there's only one kid left in the world who still believes, and it's Jamie. So he runs back to Jamie to save him from like Pitch Black's influence, and he's Jamie's struggling trying to remember the Easter Bunny, but he's like the memory of that character is fading little by little. But then thanks to Jack Frost, frosting up the windows and making like this cool, like the graphics in here is like very very good. He made this kind of frost bunny thing, and it reunites the memory of the Easter Bunny for Jamie, and he makes the room in Jamie's room snow inside, and that kind of it's never explained because like, do you know Jack Frost or don't you? Because like you probably heard of Jack Frost, and then he's like, oh my god, Jack Frost. And it's like, okay, clearly you know the name, but it's like, how do you not believe in the character? That part I get a little fuzzy with, because like we all know the name of the Tooth Fairy, so of course that inherently makes you believe in the Tooth Fairy and what the Tooth Fairy stands for. So you clearly know the name of Jack Frost. You should inherently believe that what Jack Frost does and brings to the world. But Jamie believes he finally gets to see Jack Frost and hear him, and he explains like, yeah, like Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, they all are real, and they need your help. So he saves Jamie from the boogeyman, and he gathers all the guardians are gathering together, and the boogeyman is trying to frighten Jamie into not believing in them and believing in the boogeyman again. But thanks to Jack being reminded he was in the same spot as he was back then with his sister, reassuring her or Jamie that it's nothing to be afraid of. Then that's when it clicks to him what his center is, what his purpose is. Jack Frost brings fun. That is his center. That's why he was so hesitant on joining the Guardians, because he doesn't believe in all the structure and rules and regulations and all the other stuff that and schedules that these guys kind of adhere to, because fun doesn't have a schedule. And he decided, in order to combat fear, you can have fun. And he throws snowballs at the boogeyman, and it caused Jamie to laugh, and that kind of really nice. Like, okay, we'll gather all the kids together, and we're gonna have a snow day. We're gonna have some fun. To combat fear, we're gonna have some fun. We're gonna have a good time, because that's the last thing you're thinking about when you're having fun, is being afraid of something. And because of this, all these children around there, are reunited their belief in all these characters, and their strength comes back. And I like this line from Jamie, who tells the boogeyman, it's like I do believe in you. I'm just not afraid of you. And I love that line. It's like, because it's like, it's okay to be scared. Everybody feels fear. All that matters is trying to, like, you do a thing despite, you do certain, it's like, how the line goes, it's like, you do what's right despite your fear, something like that. And this kind of, you start bursting the black sand into the Golden Sand that reunites Sandman again, and he starts like kicking Boogeyman's ass. It was really really cool. And so uh, Boogeyman starts trying to run away, and he gets attacked by his own fear horses or whatever. It's kind of like Steppenwolf in the I forgot if it was in the Snyder cut or the no, it wasn't. It was the Whedon cut where because they the parademons feed on fear, and since the Justice League members cause them to be afraid a bit, that is like blood in the water at that point. So it's essentially the same thing here. So he gets dragged to the underworld, never to be heard from again. And so now, with people believing in Jack Frost and the other Guardians, Jack tells Jamie that, you know, even though you won't see us, we'll always be there for you. And the movie ends with Jack being an official member of the Guardians. But yeah, this movie, I remember watching this movie at least once years ago when it came out on cable, and for a while I could not remember whether or not I liked it or not because it's been so long. But now that I rewatched it, I was like, oh yeah, this is a pretty solid ass freaking film. Like it's pretty good. Of course, it's DreamWorks. Usually DreamWorks, turns out pretty good stuff. But then again, this is the same people that made like Shrek the Third and Shrek Forever After. So like, sometimes you gotta take what they make with a grain of salt. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this film. This is like a very cool story. You get to learn a bit about like these ancillary characters. Definitely look up about like the Easter Bunny and the origins of Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and Jack Frost, Sandman, Boogeyman. You might learn some stuff, and it's just like a fun little research. You not necessarily have to do homework or anything like that. Just look it up for fun. But let me know in the comments below what you thought of Rise of the Guardians, because yeah, this is a pretty fun ass film. I still want to count it as a Christmas film because it's very snowy esque. You got Santa Claus in it, even though the holiday is approaching. In film the holiday is approaching Easter. You can still count it as a Christmas film technically because Santa Claus and Jack Frost play like a good chunk of time. Even though each of the characters have their own equal amount of screen time, I still count it as a Christmas film. And I guess you can count it as kind of like an Easter film too. So they kind of like share the spotlight. But anyway, don't forget to follow me on links in the description below, especially my YouTube channel where I do plenty of movie, comic book, and TV show reviews. Follow me on my Twitch channel where I stream many video games live and chat with you guys live there as well. By the way, happy Hanukkah to all the Jewish viewers. I know it's like, Hanukkah just started yesterday officially. So hope you have like an amazing Hanukkah week. And don't know if I'll be playing the games tonight, 'cause I gotta do some voiceover auditions that popped up that I want to take care of. But I will see you guys definitely tomorrow for more games by then. And yeah, and look forward to new reviews for the coming new year. But got 2 more Christmas movies to review this coming weekend, so look out for those. That way I can get those wrapped up and get started on new projects for the new year. So I will see you guys later.